It was loud, wild, and downright outrageous, but the Dukes of Hazzard hid more secrets than fans ever imagined. Behind the high-flying General Lee, car chases and Southern charm were bizarre behind-the-scenes stories that could shock even lifelong viewers. From feuds on set to production tricks no one talks about, the series wasn't as simple as it looked. Here are 20 of the weirdest facts that will make you see the Dukes of Hazzard in a whole new light. Number 1. CBS Chairman's Dislike. Despite dominating the ratings and building a devoted fan base, the Dukes of Hazzard never won over one very important figure: CBS Chairman William Paley. Paley, who had guided the network for decades, was known for championing high-quality prestige programming such as All in the Family, MASH, and 60 Minutes. He valued shows that earned critical acclaim, pushed boundaries, or carried cultural weight. To him, the Dukes of Hazzard, with its car chases, slapstick comedy, and down-home humor, was far beneath the standard he wanted CBS to represent. Paley reportedly dismissed the series outright, calling it lousy. He saw it as lowbrow entertainment, a frivolous good-old-boy romp with little artistic merit compared to the groundbreaking sitcoms and dramas that had elevated CBS's reputation during the 1970s. For a network head obsessed with prestige, the idea that one of CBS's biggest hits revolved around moonshiners, bumbling sheriffs, and a stunt car was almost embarrassing. And yet, Paley couldn't argue with the numbers. From its debut in 1979, the show quickly soared in the ratings, pulling in millions of viewers every Friday night. By the early 1980s, it was a bona fide cultural phenomenon, especially popular with families and younger audiences. No matter how much Paley disliked it, the Dukes of Hazzard was a juggernaut that filled CBS's coffers and kept audiences glued to their screens. Number 2. Casting what-ifs. Like many hit shows, the Dukes of Hazzard could have looked very different if early casting ideas had gone through. One of the most surprising what-ifs came when rising star Dennis Quaid was strongly considered for the role of Luke Duke. Quaid, whose career was beginning to take off in the late 1970s, seemed like a solid choice to play the rugged, older Duke cousin. But there was a catch. He wanted his then-wife, actress P.J. Soles, to join the show as Daisy Duke. Soles was already well known for her roles in Carrie, 1976, and Halloween, 1978, and Quaid believed she would bring star power to the role. However, the producers had a very different vision for Daisy. They were looking for someone who could embody a mix of Southern charm, girl-next-door sweetness, and undeniable sex appeal. Soles, while talented, didn't match the image they wanted, and the creative team refused Quaid's request. Unwilling to budge, Quaid dropped out of the project altogether, leaving the role of Luke open. That decision paved the way for Tom Wopat, a Wisconsin-born actor and musician, to step into the part. Wopat's easygoing chemistry with John Schneider helped cement the Duke cousins as one of TV's most iconic duos. Meanwhile, the producers took a chance on Catherine Bach for Daisy, despite initial doubts. Bach proved to be perfect for the role, creating an unforgettable character whose short shorts became a pop culture phenomenon all their own. Number 3. The Confederate flag controversy. The General Lee's roof, emblazoned with the Confederate flag, had been one of the most recognizable features of the Dukes of Hazzard since the show's debut in 1979. For decades, it was celebrated as a symbol of Southern heritage and the rebellious spirit of Bo and Luke Duke, at least in the context of the show. But by 2015, cultural attitudes toward the Confederate flag had shifted dramatically, and Warner Brothers made a significant decision. They would stop licensing Dukes of Hazzard merchandise that featured the flag. The move was part of a broader corporate response to the flag's controversial association with racism, hate groups, and the painful legacy of the American South. The decision sparked immediate backlash from longtime fans and even cast members. John Schneider, who played Bo Duke, publicly criticized Warner Brothers, arguing that the flag on the General Lee had never been used with racist intent. In interviews and social media posts, he emphasized that the show was about family, adventure, and fun, not political statements. For Schneider, removing the flag felt like erasing a key part of the show's identity and the iconic image of the General Lee. He pointed out that the Dukes themselves were heroes who fought corruption and injustice, and that the flag was meant to reflect regional pride, not hate. The controversy ignited wider discussions among fans, historians, and media critics about how to reconcile beloved pop culture symbols with evolving social awareness. Some argued that merchandise could still honor the show's legacy while acknowledging the flag's problematic history. Others supported Warner Brothers' decision, citing the need for sensitivity in a modern context. Regardless of perspective, the debate underscored just how deeply the Dukes of Hazzard had imprinted itself on American culture, and how even decades later, the General Lee remained a lightning rod for conversations about heritage, symbolism, and responsibility in entertainment. Number 4. The Animated Series. In 1983, the popularity of the Dukes of Hazzard reached beyond primetime television when the series was adapted into an animated format titled The Dukes. Produced by the legendary Hanna-Barbera, the studio behind classics like The Flintstones and Scooby-Doo, the cartoon aimed to capture the fun, high-octane spirit of the live-action show while making it accessible to younger audiences. In its first season, the series reflected the upheaval of the live-action cast, featuring Coy and Vance Duke, the stand-ins who had temporarily replaced Bo and Luke during the contract disputes of Season 5. The animated Coy and Vance carried over the same charm and southern mischief, engaging in cartoonish chases, daring escapes, and comical battles with the bumbling Sheriff Roscoe and Boss Hogg. Yet, the second season marked a return to familiar faces, as Bo and Luke Duke came back to reclaim their animated roles, restoring the dynamic that had made the original series a hit. Alongside the Duke boys, the cartoon retained key elements from the live-action show, the General Lee, car chases, and the light-hearted tone that emphasized fun over realism. Despite these efforts, the Dukes struggled to maintain a consistent audience. Cartoon adaptations often faced the challenge of translating adult-aimed humor and stunt-driven action into child-friendly storytelling, and some critics felt the show lost the edge that had made the live-action version compelling. After producing only 20 episodes over 2 seasons, the series was canceled. While short-lived, The Dukes remains a curious footnote in the franchise's history, a glimpse at how far the brand stretched to capture fans across different mediums, even if the animated version never reached the heights of the original. Number 5. The General Lee never had a 426 Hemi engine. For many fans of the Dukes of Hazzard, the General Lee was more than just a car. It was a roaring symbol of speed, power, and rebellion. Given the Charger's iconic jumps and high-octane chases, it's no surprise that viewers assumed the General Lee must have been powered by one of the most legendary engines in American muscle car history, the 426 Hemi. This engine, famous for its incredible horsepower and performance in drag racing and street muscle cars, seemed like the perfect match for a car that routinely flew through the air and outran the law. In reality, however, none of the General Lees used on the show ever had a 426 Hemi under the hood. The production team relied on more standard Dodge Charger engines, often modified for durability rather than outright speed. The show's primary concern was not raw horsepower, but the car's ability to survive repeated jumps, stunts, and crashes. Heavy-duty suspension, reinforced frames, and careful weight distribution were far more critical than the kind of high-revving, track-ready performance a Hemi could provide. In many ways, the myth of the 426 Hemi became part of the legend of the General Lee, a testament to how fans imagined the car's power rather than how it was actually built. Number 6. Boss Hogg's contract forbids certain crimes. Sorrell Books' portrayal of Boss Hogg, the scheming, cigar-chomping antagonist of the Dukes of Hazzard, became one of the show's most memorable elements. With his white suit, pork pie hat, and constant get-rich-quick schemes, Boss Hogg was the perfect foil to Bo and Luke Duke. But behind the scenes, there were strict limits on just how far the character could go, a fact enshrined in Book's contract. The actor insisted on, and successfully secured, a clause that explicitly forbade Boss Hogg from engaging in certain crimes. Specifically, the contract prohibited the character from dealing drugs or committing murder. This legal safeguard reflected both Book's personal boundaries and the family-friendly vision of the show. While Boss Hogg could cheat, steal, bribe, or manipulate others to get his way, he could never cross the line into the kind of behavior that would make him truly villainous or morally irredeemable. The stipulation allowed the writers to craft outrageous schemes and humorous conflicts without undermining the show's light-hearted tone. Number 7. Engine sounds and broadcast changes. The roar of the General Lee's engine is one of the most iconic sounds in television, but in reality, it didn't come from the car itself. The show's producers borrowed the audio of a 1968 Dodge Charger from the legendary Steve McQueen film Bullitt. That movie featured one of the most famous car chases ever put on screen, and its throaty, growling engine notes perfectly fit the larger-than-life stunts of the Dukes of Hazzard. By recycling the sounds, the General Lee was given a cinematic, almost mythic presence every time it sped across the screen, even if the car's real engine couldn't have delivered the same dramatic effect. Interestingly, the show's content also went through a transformation during its early run. When The Dukes of Hazzard premiered, its first 5 episodes aired in a later 9 p.m. time slot, which allowed the writers to lean into more adult-oriented humor and themes. These early installments had a grittier edge, with stronger language, racier jokes, and a tone that reflected its origins in the 1975 film Moonrunners, which was aimed at older audiences. However, once the network moved the series to its permanent home at 8 p.m., the show had to adapt to a family-friendly audience. Out went much of the innuendo and harder-edged humor, and in came lighter comedy, slapstick antics, and an emphasis on fun, adventure-driven plots. This shift helped broaden the show's appeal, turning it into a Saturday night staple for families across America. While longtime fans sometimes debate whether the show lost some of its bite, the move cemented The Dukes of Hazzard as one of the most beloved family action comedies of its era. Number 8. Fan craze over the General Lee. The General Lee wasn't just another TV prop. It became a full-blown cultural icon, inspiring a level of fan devotion that even surprised the show's creators. During the height of the Dukes of Hazzard's popularity, CBS reported receiving an astonishing 60,000 fan letters every single month. What stood out most, however, was that more than half of them, around 35,000, weren't for the actors at all. They were for the car. Children, teenagers, and even adults wrote directly to the General Lee as if it were a living, breathing character. Some letters came addressed simply to the General Lee, Hazzard County, and fans filled their notes with admiration, requests for photos, and questions about the car's specifications. How fast could it really go? How high could it jump? What kind of engine did it use? The fascination wasn't just about the flashy orange paint job or the Confederate flag on its roof. It was the car's larger-than-life personality that drew people in. For many young viewers, the General Lee represented freedom, adventure, and rebellion, wrapped up in the roar of a muscle car. CBS and Warner Brothers capitalized on this craze by producing posters, toy models, and other merchandise, all of which flew off the shelves. Cast members often joked that the General Lee was the real star of the show, with John Schneider once admitting that Bo and Luke were just the drivers. Number 9. Daisy Duke's famous shorts. When The Dukes of Hazzard premiered in 1979, Catherine Bach's Daisy Duke instantly became one of the show's breakout stars. And it wasn't just her charm or wit that made her memorable. It was her daringly short denim cutoffs. The wardrobe choice was so bold and distinctive that it not only defined Daisy's character, but also left a permanent mark on pop culture. Soon the term Daisy Dukes entered everyday language, used to describe ultra-short jean shorts that echoed Bach's now iconic look. But at the time, the shorts sparked concern behind the scenes. CBS executives worried they were simply too revealing for primetime television, especially with the show airing at 8 p.m. when families and children were tuning in. Producers feared that Daisy's wardrobe might be seen as too risque and risk drawing criticism from conservative viewers. To address the issue, they came up with a compromise. Bach could keep her signature look, but she would be required to wear sheer, skin-colored pantyhose underneath the shorts to preserve modesty while still giving the illusion of bare legs. Number 10. Contract disputes. By the time The Dukes of Hazzard reached its 5th season in 1982, Tom Wopat and John Schneider had become household names as Luke and Bo Duke. But behind the scenes, tensions were brewing. Both actors were frustrated with the show's handling of merchandising revenue, feeling they deserved a fair share of profits from the wildly popular General Lee toys, posters, and other merchandise. Negotiations with Warner Brothers stalled, and in a bold move, Wopat and Schneider walked off the set just as production for Season 5 was about to begin. Producers scrambled to fill the void, introducing new characters, Coy and Vance Duke, played by Byron Cherry and Christopher Mayer. The idea was to maintain the Duke family dynamic while keeping the show on the air. Unfortunately, the replacement cousins failed to capture the magic of Bo and Luke. Fans were quick to voice their displeasure. Letters, calls, and ratings all reflected a clear message. Viewers wanted the original Dukes, not stand-ins. Even some of the cast reportedly struggled to embrace the temporary shift, noting that the energy and camaraderie Wopat and Schneider brought was impossible to replicate. The ratings drop was immediate and significant, signaling that the show's appeal rested heavily on the chemistry between its leads. After just a handful of episodes, Warner Brothers reopened negotiations, and Wopat and Schneider returned to their roles. Their comeback restored the show's momentum, proving that Bo and Luke weren't just characters. They were the heart of the Dukes of Hazzard. The contract dispute remains one of the most famous behind-the-scenes dramas of the series, illustrating the delicate balance between star power, creative control, and fan loyalty. Number 11. The real-life inspiration. The roots of the Dukes of Hazzard go back to the true-life adventures of Jerry Elijah Rushing, a North Carolina moonshiner whose story reads almost like a folk legend. Born into a family deeply connected to the trade, Rushing began hauling illegal liquor at just 12 years old. His weapon of choice on the back roads was a 1958 Chrysler 300D, a high-powered machine he named Traveler, paying homage to General Robert E. Lee's famous horse. With this car, he outmaneuvered lawmen across winding southern highways, often running alongside his brother Johnny and cousin Delane. These daring runs, filled with speed, danger, and youthful rebellion, captured the spirit of a region where moonshining was more than a crime. It was a way of life. Rushing's escapades became the direct inspiration for the 1975 film Moonrunners, a gritty story of bootleggers that laid the foundation for the much lighter, family-friendly series, The Dukes of Hazzard. While the TV show softened the rougher edges of real moonshiner life, the DNA of Rushing's adventures remained central: fast cars, tight-knit family bonds, and constant clashes with authority. Eventually, Rushing left behind the illegal trade and reinvented himself as a successful hunter and outdoorsman. But his connection to the show didn't end with inspiration alone. He even stepped in front of the camera, playing shady car dealer Ace Parker in the early episode Repo Man. In many ways, his life story blurred the line between fact and fiction, giving pop culture one of its most enduring good old boy legends. Number 12. John Schneider's audition trick. When casting began for the Dukes of Hazzard, the producers envisioned Bo Duke as a rugged, seasoned Southern man, someone older and with a certain swagger that came from experience. At just 18 years old, John Schneider hardly fit the bill. But rather than walk away, he came up with a clever plan. Determined to land the part, Schneider reinvented himself for the audition. He showed up dressed head to toe like a true country boy, complete with a cowboy hat, well-worn boots, and the easygoing confidence of someone who had grown up tearing down back roads. To sell the act further, he cracked open a beer, chewed tobacco, and carried himself as if he were already living the Duke lifestyle. Schneider didn't stop there. He even told the producers he was 24 years old and claimed he had years of experience as a stunt driver, both of which were outright lies. But the performance worked. His charm and authenticity convinced the casting team that he was exactly the kind of wild, good-hearted rebel they were looking for. Schneider's bold gamble paid off, and he won the role that would define his career. Of course, there was one problem. Once filming began, he had to back up his claims. The stunt driving skills he boasted about didn't actually exist, so Schneider had to quickly learn how to handle the high-octane action sequences that the show demanded. In the end, his youthful energy, quick adaptability, and fearless audition trick not only got him the part, but helped shape Bo Duke into one of television's most beloved good old boys. Number 13. Wopat and Schneider's first meeting. Sometimes the beginnings of great TV chemistry come from the most unexpected places, and that was certainly the case for Tom Wopat and John Schneider. Before they became Luke and Bo Duke, the cousins who raced around Hazzard County in the General Lee, their very first meeting happened not in a casting room or rehearsal space, but in a bathroom. When Wopat arrived to audition for the role of Luke, he happened to cross paths with Schneider, who had already been testing for Bo. The two struck up a casual conversation, and Schneider's eye quickly caught the guitar Wopat was carrying with him. Music proved to be their instant icebreaker. Schneider, a country music enthusiast himself, asked Wopat about his guitar, and soon the two were chatting away about songs, influences, and their shared love for performing. What could have been a quick, forgettable encounter turned into the spark of a genuine connection. By the time they walked out of the restroom and into the audition, the awkwardness of meeting for the first time had already melted away. That natural ease carried over into their screen test. Instead of feeling like two strangers paired up for a role, Wopat and Schneider came across as if they had known each other for years. Their banter, relaxed energy, and playful camaraderie immediately impressed the producers, showing that they had the chemistry necessary to carry the show. That chance meeting, born out of a bathroom conversation and a shared love of music, helped secure Wopat the role of Luke Duke, and laid the foundation for one of television's most iconic duos. Number 14. The Hood Slide Accident. One of the most recognizable images from the Dukes of Hazzard is the sight of Luke Duke, played by Tom Wopat, gracefully sliding across the hood of the bright orange General Lee. It became a signature move of the show, copied by fans, and burned into television history. But what many don't realize is that the famous hood slide wasn't choreographed, rehearsed, or even planned at all. It was a complete accident. During filming, Wopat was supposed to simply leap over the General Lee to get to the other side. On his first attempt, however, things didn't go as smoothly as expected. Instead of clearing the car, his foot caught on the edge, and he lost his balance mid-jump. Instinctively, he threw his body forward to recover, landing in a slide across the hood. What could have been an embarrassing misstep ended up looking fast, fluid, and effortlessly cool on camera. The crew loved it, and the producers quickly realized they had stumbled onto something special. From that moment on, the hood slide became a trademark stunt of Luke Duke, and later, Bo Duke as well. Of course, it wasn't without its hazards. Wopat reportedly banged his leg on the car's radio antenna more than once, leaving bruises as a reminder of how dangerous the move could be. Still, the unplanned slide fit perfectly with the show's high-energy style and sense of improvisation. What started as a simple mistake turned into an iconic piece of television, helping define the rebellious, fast-paced spirit of the Dukes of Hazzard. Number 15. The General Lee, engineering a legend. The General Lee wasn't just a flashy orange car with a rebel flag painted on its roof. It was an engineering marvel built to withstand the insane stunts that became the heart of the Dukes of Hazzard. At its core, the General was a 1969 Dodge Charger, but the version seen on screen was far from factory standard. To transform it into a TV legend, mechanics and stunt coordinators had to rethink almost every element of the car's design. First came the safety modifications. The Charger was fitted with sturdy roll bars to protect the stunt drivers during the high-flying jumps that defined the show. Its suspension system was upgraded with heavy-duty shocks and reinforcements, allowing the car to take punishing landings that would have destroyed a stock model. The wheels were customized for durability, while the brakes were carefully adjusted to handle the sharp, screeching turns the Duke boys made while evading Sheriff Roscoe and his deputies. The biggest challenge, however, was the Charger's natural weight distribution. Being front-heavy, the car had a tendency to nosedive during jumps, often crumpling the front end on impact. To solve this, crews ingeniously placed ballast and sandbags in the trunk, shifting the balance so the car would soar more evenly and land rear first, a trick that not only saved the vehicle from catastrophic damage, but also gave the jumps their dramatic, picture-perfect arc. Number 16. The Dixie Horn. Among all the memorable features of the General Lee, the bright orange paint, the racing numbers, the roaring engine, none became more instantly recognizable than its horn. Instead of a standard honk, the Charger announced itself with the playful, unmistakable tune of Dixie. What fans might not know is that this signature detail wasn't planned by the producers at all. It was pure chance. During the filming of the first season episode High Octane, the cast and crew were taking a break when a car drove past the set. To everyone's surprise, the vehicle's horn blasted out the first notes of Dixie. The sound was quirky, attention-grabbing, and fit the southern charm of the show perfectly. John Schneider, who played Bo Duke, immediately recognized its potential. Rather than let the moment slip by, he literally chased the car down the road until he caught up with the driver. Schneider asked where the driver had gotten the horn and, without hesitation, offered to buy it on the spot. The price? $300. Quite a sum at the time, but one that would turn out to be a bargain considering the legacy it created. The horn was quickly installed in the General Lee, and once producers heard how audiences reacted to it, they knew they had stumbled onto something iconic. From then on, the Dixie horn became inseparable from the General Lee. Every blast of those notes was like a rallying cry, a playful announcement that the Duke boys were on their way. What started as a roadside accident of fate turned into one of the most beloved and enduring sound effects in television history. Number 17. The doors were welded shut by accident. One of the most instantly recognizable quirks of the General Lee, the fact that its doors never opened from the outside, wasn't a deliberate design choice. In fact, it began entirely by accident. During an early stunt sequence, a passenger side door handle was damaged and became unusable. Faced with the need to continue filming without delaying production, Tom Wopat, John Schneider, and the stunt drivers improvised. Instead of entering the car through the doors, they climbed through the windows. The maneuver, initially a simple workaround, caught the attention of the production team. Not only did it solve the immediate problem, but it also added a distinctive, visually dynamic element to the show. Seeing Bo and Luke vault through the windows lent a sense of speed, athleticism, and daring to every chase scene. It reinforced the idea that the Dukes were agile, resourceful, and always ready to improvise when trouble came their way. From that point on, the decision was made to leave the doors non-functional from the outside for all subsequent General Lee cars. What had started as a minor accident evolved into an iconic characteristic, distinguishing the car from any other muscle car on television. The welded doors also became a practical advantage for stunt sequences, keeping actors safe during jumps and preventing the doors from accidentally flying open mid-air. Number 18. The show struggled to replace Chargers when production crashed them. One of the hidden challenges of producing the Dukes of Hazzard was the staggering number of General Lees destroyed during filming. The show's signature stunts, high-speed chases, jumps, and crashes, took a heavy toll on the Dodge Chargers that served as Bo and Luke's iconic ride. Over the series' run, hundreds of cars were wrecked, leaving the production team in a constant scramble to find replacements. This problem was exacerbated by the fact that Dodge had stopped producing the 1969 Charger, the model used for the General Lee. As the series progressed, sourcing suitable cars became increasingly difficult. The production crew often had to get creative, scouring junkyards, contacting collectors, and even spotting Chargers on the street in hopes of persuading owners to sell. There are stories of crew members leaving notes on parked cars with messages like, "Want to sell your Charger to Warner Brothers?" These improvisations became necessary just to keep filming on schedule, especially during sequences that required multiple stunts or simultaneous jumps. The shortage of cars also forced the producers to consider alternative solutions. In later seasons, miniature remote-controlled Chargers were used for some jumps to save money and preserve the few remaining full-sized vehicles. However, these miniatures were less convincing, and both fans and cast members noted the drop in quality, contributing to the decline in the show's reception during its final seasons. Number 19. Record-breaking jumps. Few television images are as thrilling as the General Lee soaring through the air, defying gravity in spectacular fashion. The car's jaw-dropping jumps became the trademark of the Dukes of Hazzard and were unlike anything else on TV at the time. From the very first episode, the show set the tone with a leap that would be talked about for decades. In that pilot, the General Lee launched an incredible 16 feet high and flew 82 feet across before slamming back down to Earth. Some claim this stunt set a world record for a car jump, instantly cementing the General Lee's reputation as more than just a prop. It was a daredevil legend on wheels. But the record-breaking claims didn't end there. Many fans and stunt historians argue that an even greater feat came later in the second season episode Double Sting. In this installment, the General Lee made a dramatic river jump that seemed to outdo even the pilot's audacious stunt. Whether the official title belongs to the pilot's leap or the river flight, the debate only adds to the mythos surrounding the car. What's certain is that no other television vehicle has matched the General Lee's consistent ability to deliver heart-stopping, physics-defying action. Of course, these jumps came at a cost. Hundreds of Dodge Chargers were sacrificed over the course of the series, often destroyed on impact. Still, the image of that bright orange Charger flying through the air became a symbol of rebellion, adventure, and pure spectacle. The General Lee didn't just break records, it redefined what a TV car could do. Number 20. The cost of jumps. Behind the thrills and excitement of the Dukes of Hazzard was a costly secret. The General Lee's breathtaking jumps came with a heavy price tag. Each time the bright orange Dodge Charger went airborne, there was a good chance it wouldn't survive the landing. Over the course of the series, an estimated 300 Dodge Chargers were wrecked or damaged beyond repair. Some cars had their frames twisted on impact, others lost entire front ends, and many were scrapped altogether. The demand for Chargers quickly created a nationwide shortage. By the mid-1980s, finding suitable 69 models had become so difficult that the production crew resorted to desperate measures. Crew members were known to leave handwritten notes on windshields of Chargers they spotted in parking lots, asking if the owners would consider selling their cars to Warner Brothers. Fans who loved the car weren't always pleased. After all, many dream machines were sacrificed in the name of TV spectacle. As costs mounted, Warner Brothers began looking for alternatives. In the later seasons, they turned to remote-controlled miniature replicas of the General Lee for jump sequences, hoping to save money and preserve what chargers they had left. Unfortunately, the effect was obvious, and fans noticed the difference right away. The once thrilling stunts lost their edge, and viewers felt cheated by the toy-like look of the miniatures. Cast members themselves expressed their disappointment, agreeing that the show had lost some of its magic. This shift particularly hurt Season 6's second half and much of Season 7, which remain the most poorly received chapters of the series. In the end, the cost of those legendary jumps was more than just destroyed cars. It was the credibility of the show itself. What do you think about these 20 weird facts from the Dukes of Hazzard? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.